Hey there, friends. We're 3 years into Russia's invasion into Ukraine, and you're praying, you're believing, you're dialing into hope. You're looking at where God has moved in the past in Ukraine, and He's on the move today. Incredibly great news. Just announced, maybe in the last 20 minutes, that U.S. is now going to resume sharing intelligence with Ukraine. Guys, this means this was way more than just a military thing. This is how Ukraine has been blocking missiles striking people's houses. And Russia took advantage of the lack of intelligence sharing to just bomb like crazy, and many people suffered and died, but that has been put an end to. Praise God. The meeting in Riyadh that was with Marco Rubio and around this peace in Saudi Arabia, the result has been that Ukraine has been part of that conversation, and the U.S. has proposed a 30-day ceasefire. Now you got to understand something. Ukraine has always been for that, okay? You need to understand that. They're okay with a ceasefire. But what they're not okay is a ceasefire that comes with certain conditions. Like Russia wants a ceasefire with Ukraine pulling back all of its troops out of Kursk, wants Ukraine to give up any bit of negotiating power it has before they'll agree to a ceasefire. This is not that. And Ukraine has said, we're in. But what you need to understand is behind the scenes, Russia is against a wall. The Politburo just received a report from the central bank, and they reiterated what Elvira Nabiullina has said before, which is there is no money. She gave them that report in February. Devastating. You don't understand. A central bank's power is that it has funds in hand to be able to move the economy and to keep inflation from happening. In fact, the only way they have not had out of control inflation in Russia is they've been spending money from the central bank reserves. Well, there's no money left. But not only that, now it gets worse. The additional declaration is we do not have energy strength to continue. Whoa, this is unbelievable. And I've said this before. It is this that is going to break the Russian state. It is a fundamental breakdown financially. What they're now expecting is rates to exceed that of 1999. Okay, inflation in 1999 were 92.6%. That was when the ruble collapsed. That's what they're looking at because they have no means to stop. It's like going down a hill and you've been riding the brakes and suddenly the brakes go out. That's what they're looking at. And so Russia, what they're saying is they don't have time. They don't have time to wait. So this 30-day ceasefire, there's a world where Russia can agree to it. But the reality is Russia needs a miracle to not completely go down in flames and to somehow save face and somehow get something for this horrific war they've started. And by a miracle, I don't mean one from God. And so, so this is a flip, where Zelensky said, hey, listen, we appreciate what the Americans are doing, that they're making this an option. We're 100% for it. And it's allowed, Ukraine to kind of change the narrative back from where, Ukraine was being told that they are horrible, that how dare you, this is all your fault. And this is allowing the narrative come back to show that inherently all the way along, Ukraine has been the rational one in all of this and has always wanted peace, but not peace at any cost. Again, it's, I've given this analogy that my wife felt like she came up with, which is Ukraine is like a woman who has a neighbor who has raped her children, killed her children, and the neighbor said, no, he's not going to do it anymore. Well, then they go, oh, actually, he's on his way over right now. You should probably get out of the house. Instead of defending, she stands up and fights them. When she fights them, then the neighbors go, listen, please, we're scared of him. We don't like him. Can you please stop fighting him? Just give in to him. Just give a kid to him. And she's like, no, because you're next. And once he's done with me, you're next. And Europe finally understands that. And Europe is united. And the world is starting to understand that it's not peace at any cost. That peace is like Neville Chamberlain said, peace in our time, when he gave up Sudetenland to Hitler. But it didn't buy peace. It bought Hitler more time to build a absolutely horrific war machine that devoured all of Europe. And that's literally what we're seeing with Russia. And the world's waking up to that. Thankfully, that in this, with the restoration of intelligence sharing, I feel like some of that is because Europe called Trump's bluff, with France providing and Finland providing intelligence. But even so, that the images of what they did, where I think Kellogg said, sometimes you got to slap a mule across the nose to get his attention, calling the Ukrainian people a mule. What they saw was, the result was children being killed. And that's not good PR. And so that's brought some sanity back to the process. At the same time, there are massive fights inside of the Trump cabinet, with reported over the weekend a fight breaking out between Rubio and Elon Musk. You need to know something about Rubio. Rubio has spent years building these relationships through the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and he's watching them be just destroyed, and he's having to implement things that are 180 degrees from what he himself stood on the Senate floor and declared. He's having to say the exact opposite, and that's really hard for anybody who is has any sort of principles, which I believe he does. And so I just want to say, guys, keep praying. It's huge. Keep praying. It is making a difference. Keep praying. Lives are being changed and being affected. But guys, more than anything, I don't know if you got a chance to listen to our interview with Vladimir and Lilia of the Church Blagovest in Dnipro yesterday. There is such a need for hope. It was such a brutal blow to the Ukrainian people when the U.S. not only turned its back on Ukraine, but also said things like, it's your fault. It's kind of like blaming a rape victim, that it's her fault. And it gutted people of hope. I can't explain to you. They've been holding on with hope. But listen, guys, can I just say, you know, what we're told in Scripture, that men trust in horses and chariots, but we trust in the Lord. Guys, Ukraine needs to be hoping not in Trump, not in Macron, not in Europe, but in the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Guys, pray for the church in Ukraine to arise. Pray for the church in Ukraine to be encouraged. Pray for hope to arise. It came out that yesterday in our conversation with Vladimir and Lilia that by God's grace I will be going there at the end of this month, and I'd appreciate your prayers for me. I really feel very strongly that the Lord wants to bring hope through me, and I'll be honest. Part of me said to the Lord, how is it possible? Because I don't have a hope that's built in war. I haven't lived through what they're going through. And yet, God is the giver of hope. God is our hope. The Lord, the maker of heaven and earth, is our hope and our salvation. And so just pray for Ukraine. Pray for the church in Ukraine. Pray for the people to be encouraged and strengthened and hope to arise. But at the same time, pray for this ceasefire to put the pressure on Russia exactly where it needs it. I could see Russia agreeing to a ceasefire with a desperate hope for some sort of miraculous end. to this war. Because they need it done in 30 days. They really, I can't overestimate how critical the Russian economy is right now. How and what a critical state it is. But wow, what an amazing end to life. But I can't imagine Russia being able to agree to what amounts to a true truce or an end, a sustainable peace. Guys, pray that the world will not allow anything other than a meaningful peace. That's one where Russia pays reparations, where children who've been stolen are returned, where war crimes are addressed, where territory is returned, and where there are security guarantees, where it's not just on paper but actual troops. And so please continue to pray with us for that and believe for that. As always, guys, I can't say it enough. Just, with our friends Vladimir and Lilia and the Church Blagovest in Ukraine, they are in real need of help financially. There is all of the different Western resources have dried up for a couple different reasons. There's some of them are political, some of them are just, people get really excited when there's a problem at first. And when it's really like, oh my gosh, save lives today, people get excited. Well, the excitement's gone, but the problems remain and the needs are great. And if you heard Vladimir and Lilia, they're still giving what they have, but at this point, they're having to give like a handful of macaroni and a handful of flour and a pinch of salt. Whereas before they could actually give people, food to feed a family for a week. Guys, if you're willing to help support them, ariselife.org/help Ukraine. I'll try to put the link in here. There's a button there you can give, but there's also Facebook pages and stuff where you can see what they're doing. But guys, all of you who've been supporting right along, so grateful. You will not know until heaven how many lives were saved. Both saved from hell, but saved in this life because of your gifts. And I'm so grateful to all of you all, but also for your prayer. It is making a difference. Don't let the enemy, don't grow weary of doing good. Don't grow weary of pulling back. And finally, I want to say thank you for sharing this. Thank you for liking it. Thank you for commenting. Put in what you're praying for into the comments. I love how you guys will talk to each other and say, hey, I'm praying for the same thing. Let's do this together. But also when you follow the page, all of those things make a difference. So thank you. Be blessed.